Hello, top of the morning. Excuse me, my first time speaking out loud. Top of the morning. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to the City of Healing. This is Angela, and it's going to be a beautiful day. It's Tuesday, and enjoying some turmeric chai golden tea. No sweetener, but it's still delicious, and you can make your own. But I got this as a gift from someone. Numi organic tea, and it's organic. It's a loose blend, caffeine free, of course. It has, ginger and cardamom, and celebrating people, planet, and pure tea. And it's from Madagascar, and it's very refreshing. I drink a lot of turmeric and ginger tea. I have a small cup because I'm going to have another cup, around 11 o'clock. I'm not doing the intermittent fasting this week, but I am taking away my sweets this week. So even though I don't eat a lot considerably, it is one of my weaknesses, especially cake. I love cake, and don't eat it every day, but I'm just eliminating it this week. So anyway, going to talk a little bit about, as the title states, hip pain. And I posed it as a question because is the hip pain really, hip pain? It could be a number of things, including, constipation, lower back problems. We automatically, sometimes we go to the doctor. In most cases, sometimes we need to. And if you think that you have a hip problem, you should go because there could be a pathological fracture. So better safe than sorry. But we want to go into the cause. There's always a cause of effect. That's one of the Hermetic principles, right? Cause and effect. What is going on with our body pathophysiologically? I messed that word up. Pathophysiologically going on that we can try to address to correct the problem. There could be, if there is hip problems, there is a cause, of course. Is there some type of nerve damage due to probably weight or the way we move, perhaps? Not enough movement. We need to move, of course. It could be blood supply due to, again, weight, the way we moved or not moving. It could be mechanical, the way we were born, injury, flat foot, different types of deformities all over the body. When we have certain joint issues, it's not necessarily one particular spot or one particular joint that's the whole solution. It's generally generalized throughout the body that we have to evaluate. It's more holistic and not a particular side. And, sometimes we go in, into the hospital with certain hip problems, and it's only one hip or one shoulder, and they correct that problem, and next thing you know it, you're getting the other shoulder or hip done a few years later. And joint surgery is a very prominent surgery. It's not one of the most popular, but it is a very popular surgery, and the patients are getting younger and younger. And also, it's not necessarily, an old person's condition to have arthritis. And with arthritis, we have to remember that we have to move and try to, as much as possible, stay away from the prescription medicine and the over-the-counter medicine as well, such as Tylenol and NSAIDs. NSAIDs being non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like Aleve, Motrin, Naproxen, etc., etc. And even though they make us comfortable is not the solution to the problem. And as we know, Tylenol can be toxic to the liver. It can be damaging to the joint and to the fluid that goes to nourish the joint, as well as the NSAIDs can be toxic to the kidneys and cause further damage to the joints and the fluid, and just cause the blood to be toxic after a period of time. So these are the things we need to consider looking at the person or the patient holistically, and not just correcting the problem or pampering the problem. And the thing to remember is that pain is so subjective. What you can tolerate, another person cannot tolerate. I know we have a 89-year-old, my kids' babysitter that took care of them, and we're trying to take care of her now if she lets us. But she has more pain, and complain of more pain when she's constipated, mildly, as a matter of fact. As in, she walked around for like 2 or 3 weeks with a fractured foot, and later from a fractured humerus. I mean, she didn't even really know it. So pain is so subjective. What one can tolerate, another can't. So you have to really always, with anything, mentally, physically, psychologically, meet people where they are and try to work from there. And we have to be empathetic with that. And this, in part, the reason why I am still also in the medical profession, because everybody is not going to approach, the holistic side. They want answers and quick fixes. So you have to be there, and you can serve both worlds, really, and hopefully eventually make it one. So as I mentioned, joint surgery, when you do have that type of surgery, unfortunately, it basically lasts, at least when I was working on the floor, about 10 to 15 years. And yes, they are going to start doing or have replacements, joint placements that last much longer. We're going to have $6 million men, $6 million women, with replacements soon. So, and not to mention, the other complications with surgery that can be life-threatening, also including infections, debilitation, time down from work, possible PEs, throwing clots, bad infections, and on and on and on. Not to mention when we can basically try to talk about and try to encourage and put out there the other aspects of healing ourselves and addressing the root cause. And like I said, the root cause, some type of nerve problem, as I said, from possibly weight or circulation problems with the blood supply, toxic blood. So our bodies are inflamed. Mechanical, even from pelvic issues, from giving birth to birth defects with the pelvic area, with the spine, with the lower lumbar. I can go on and on. Flat foot with mechanical issues, the way we sit, our posture, all those things can be corrected when we listen to our bodies. But like I said, not just fixing those issues holistically. We need to also, the medical field is here for a reason as well. Most of us don't have x-ray vision, so we have to, if we having issues, if we having pain, we can use the medical field by getting x-rays when we having these extreme or concerning conditions with our joints and our bones, to make sure, some people have pathological fractures You can get fat emboli or pulmonary emboli with fractures and you don't even know that you have one. So x-rays can be necessary. We just can't, do yoga or get chiropractic care when, we could have a fracture and make it worse, much more worse, really. So, as I mentioned, naturopathic chiropractors are excellent. If you can find a good one, that can be a godsend because they can correct and teach you good exercises and maneuvers to help relieve that nerve damage and encourage probably also some weight loss. That's um, one of the only reasons that I would encourage weight loss. They also can increase the blood supply, by certain maneuvers and chiropractic care, you know, and also mechanical, certain postures and exercises can, Kegel exercises can increase, the pelvic floor. And we can go on and on, and this video probably can be very long. That's why I'm probably talking fast and trying to get whatever I can in that I can think about. But chiropractic care, holistic care is very, very important. Not to mention, walking is excellent. Being barefoot and on grounding is very, very good because that's our natural way of walking is basically barefoot. And of course, some of us have deformities, flat feet, club feet, and go on and on. You need orthotics to improve your posture and the way that you can maneuver and move. Also, our soil is not as rich as it used to be. Maybe somewhere where you live, your soil is excellent and have all the nourishment that it needs. But, check your vitamin and your supplements that you take. In particular, with bone health, you have to consider your D3, and you want to make sure it has K2 because K2 helps the calcium and the vitamin D go where it needs to go, as well as the magnesium. And magnesium is another very important bone supplement, as well as selenium and some calcium. Try to get most of your calcium in food as much as possible because too much calcium can cause, stones in your ducts, in your gallbladder, in your urethra. That's where they can find their exit. So we have to be very careful with the amount of calcium supplements we consume, especially if we're not consuming K2 with it. Selenium is important. Walking and yoga, and include things in your diet such as turmeric and ginger. They are anti-inflammatory foods. Consume as many anti-inflammatory foods as possible. Raw fruits and vegetables, coniferous vegetables, blueberries, ginger, turmeric, as I already mentioned, and just as much as possible. Also, not to mention collagen and bone broth. We need that collagen to help continue to improve our bone density. We need that marrow. We need that cartilage. We need that the gristles. We need all of that. So bone broth is very, very important to consume, even if you don't consume it in soups. If you consume it as a tea, put it in your foods. It's so important to include that. The hunter-gatherer, we don't do that anymore. We want the chicken breasts, we want the chicken tenders, but we need to eat our bones, our meats with the bones in them, especially chicken, preferably organic, free-range chicken as much as possible, and you make sure that they air chilled it, instead of, in water, to preserve the meat. So those are some types of things to consider when you're talking about bone health, when you are thinking about if you have hip pain. So if you have hip pain, as I mentioned, see your doctor if you have to. And if you don't have some type of deformity or spur or tumor or fracture, proceed holistically. And as much as possible, avoid surgery if you can, even though surgery, you know, it's going to get better and better and better. It's very helpful, but, you're going to be going back to surgery and at risk for complications. So as my favorite word is to each his own. And I wish you all nothing but the best, just stay healthy and make healthy choices. Anyway, thanks for visiting the city, and I hope you all have a fantastic Tuesday. Take care.